Yeah, and on the magic side for Marvel, I think that's important too because it kind of establishes the hierarchy or what to expect, like heading into it. For example, Baron Mordo in Marvel is an absolute jobber. I've seen him prep for literally eternity, run up on Doctor Strange in his house, and immediately get sent into oblivion. There was not even a fight. I don't remember Strange even looking at him. It was very embarrassing. But we also know that when someone a caliber of Mordo is defeated by someone, if it's not the usual people beating them up, it does matter. And to me, the way you were using characters to kind of demonstrate the Chthon, because for those that don't know, and Steve kind of brought this up, Chthon isn't as mainstream of a Hell Lord or Eldritch being in Marvel. In fact, like you said, we don't see him that much. So I'm kind of curious, what was your approach with Chthon? Like, being able to flesh out more of his story, who he is, like the fact that how he created the Darkhold out of another Elder God, it kind of got him banished. The Marvel cosmology can sometimes be confusing, especially with the different Hell Lords and the landscape of that. So I'm kind of, what's your take on Chthon, especially when you're heading into the run?
I mean, we wanted to, he is a powerful character. At the same time, as you said, things are very complicated. Everything in comics is complicated, especially, I mean, like Wanda's family, her quote unquote, I mean, her extended family is one of the most buck wild ones in comics. It's strange in a world of strange families. So, um, with Chthon, it was kind of like, look, he's always kind of been he's been, he tainted her soul or whatever from the time she was born. She was always supposed to be this vessel for him to take over eventually and all this. And he's always kind of been a stand-in in many ways, like a metaphorical stand-in for Wanda's struggles with mental health. And so we knew with Darkhold and Trial of Magneto that we wanted to sort of not close the book, but write the final page of this of a lot of Wanda's long-standing chapters. Her issues with the mutants, her issues with the Darkhold and Chthon. So when he came back, the focus, we didn't want to get too mired down in the lore. Not that we contradicted anything, but the key is that the important things are how he relates to Wanda. What he's done to Wanda, how he's plagued her life, how he sees her in a different way than she sees herself. Of course, he's wrong in how he sees her. She's just a thing to him. And how that's eventually his downfall. But the idea was, yes, to bring him in and have him make this big push, and of course to show how his world and power can corrupt others, as you see with the Darkhold defiled. But then knowing that he's been sort of that stand-in for Wanda's own internal struggles. Anyone who has been to therapy, anyone who's struggled with mental health knows that there's very rarely like a quote unquote cure. There's management. There's finding ways to integrate these struggles into your life, and if you can, turn them into a positive. So with Chthon, that's why you see that she realizes that her issue has been that she's tried to destroy him time and time again, but she can't. He's a fundamental, being. He's part of reality. He's the elder god of chaos, and chaos is one of the oldest, powers in creation. So she has to do something else, and that's how we got around to the moment where she transmutes the Darkhold and chains him inside her soul. And now, she has this living avatar for the chaos in her life that she's always got to kind of manage and try to keep control of. Now, how has she been doing with that? Stay tuned. In the upcoming Scarlet Witch stuff, we've already seen a couple hints. But yes, like our approach was focus on the relationships, the character dynamics between them, and give folks as much of the lore as they need, but not so much that you're kind of wrapped up wondering, how old he is and who his brother is and how he relates to Set or Gaia and things like that. That's a great story, but it wasn't this story. This is the story of Wanda overcoming.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the Inhuman run. I think it came out in like 2000, 2001, around that range. I thought it did well to establish the mystique behind him not speaking. Just there's almost power in that because when he speaks, everything goes to shit for everybody else. And kind of not flipping over, but going back to Chthon, because again, this was a character we finally got more info on. If we were to look at the grand scheme of Marvel, where would you say someone like a Chthon would sit? Because Marvel's done stories before where they've literally had the Hell Lords and Hell Beings at a table, kind of talking about where they all match up to each other, like how the hierarchy works. Is he a god that kind of stands independent of that, like beyond creation, just kind of doing his own thing? Is he someone that potentially one day we could see woven into the fabric of the different chaotic beings? What's his stature right now?
Well, right now he's in a cage in Wanda's soul.
Okay, that's fair. I walked into that, but in terms of his, I guess we'd say before that, technically speaking.
Well, I mean, look, I'll admit, like, you couldn't know this, but I'm hesitant to answer because, and I probably won't, just because, unfortunately, whatever I say about this is going to be used by fans online to inflame abuse and violence towards other fans, which is an unfortunate thing to say, but anything related, this has been what like power level and cosmic hegemony discussions have become in comics. So I'm not trying to be unromantic, but I don't answer it's become too dangerous, either with people harassing me, threatening my life, threatening to cut my hands off, or threatening other fans who disagree with them if I answer anything regarding actual cosmogony, Wanda's specific power level, Chthon's power level. It's unfortunate, and I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm just, I got to speak truth to this.
Yeah, I can adjust the question too. Not really a power level question.
No, I mean, to be frank, like, I'm happy to talk about it. Like what I assume is a variety of few fans who are extremely toxic and make violent threats towards creators and other fans have poisoned the pot for everybody. It's not safe. I don't do interaction with people on Twitter anymore because abuse and purposely misread takes have been framed as constructive criticism, and they just lead to abuse of other fans, abuse to fellow creators, and it's unfortunate. But we have to be the adults in the room. I'm not gonna, it's one thing if people want to come for me, but I'm not gonna say something that can then be quoted on social and used for one section of Wanda fandom and Marvel fandom to attack another section of Marvel fandom, whether it's a Wanda fan on Wanda fan or Wanda fan on Jean fan. I think not enough of us talk about this. Like, these folks have turned this into something that is not healthy. And it does kind of ruin it for folks who just want to, ask these questions like you. And it operates, unfortunately, from many times. Like, I become compassionate and somewhat naive, and I think if I just show enough patience, then folks will get it, but they don't.
That's a mistake.
And a good example is, there's a large portion of, or not a large, I have no idea. There's a portion of folks who think that because Wanda's power comes from chaos magic, which is one of the foundational things in the universe, in the Marvel universe, that she should never face any struggles and never be untouchable, or rather she should be untouchable, and they don't understand how something like low Mysterium could affect her, because chaos magic is older than Mysterium, and it's older than the White Hot Room, if it is. And the thing is, like, that's just a false assumption. Nearly everything in creation has hydrogen in it. As I've said online, nearly everything in any organic thing in creation has carbon in it. But if you have a sheet of carbon, and you have a steel bar which has carbon in it, guess what? That steel bar can break that sheet of carbon. The idea that something being old or a building block to something else means it cannot be affected by that thing is just a false misunderstanding of how reality works. And, comics are still an interpretation of reality. And I said this online once, and someone said to me, well, you're an idiot because everybody knows that even chaos magic was older than carbon, and carbon came from chaos magic. And that is when I learned that I just have to close up shop on the internet and step away, because that's a silly thing to say. But so I'm hesitant to answer it, and it's nothing that you've asked, but I'm just, I want to give people context, like, because it's a real problem. I think many creators wish we could interact with readers more, but it's just not become it's just not it's become not safe in a lateral sense to other readers and fans. And of course, like, we don't get paid a lot to make up these stories in our living rooms. We definitely don't need the an added bonus of having people threaten to come to our house and kill us or cut our hands off because we wrote a comic book. So, to answer your question,
We've actually talked about this
will.
off camera before, so it's like I can't disagree with you. We literally had this discussion in DMs. I think we were dealing with like Emma Frost hate, and I was like, "Steve, you're way too nice. I'll be dirty about
But
this."
but I'll say this. I'll say this: like, Chthon is one of the elder gods, and let me speak about it in a way that is connected to what's going on now. Like, Chthon is one of the elder gods, and we know that they are immensely powerful. Like, he is probably, I'm saying probably because I'm sure there's an issue somewhere in the past 85 years that would contradict it. But
Yeah, you speak with freedom on my channel. I'll protect you from all.
But if you look at things like what's going on in Immortal Thor right now, we know that the elder gods, aka
yeah, Tornos and them, yeah.
Are even older and even more powerful than what we know as the gods of the Marvel Universe. And Chthon is one of them. He might be stuck in Wanda's soul.
Yeah, but that's what I was kind of because the Elder God term in Marvel for decades has been thrown around sometimes. But and you beautifully referenced it. I've been covering Immortal Thor on my channel. The Elder God title has become more firm, if that makes sense. Like, there is indeed a true fleshed out host of elder gods, and I know he was referenced multiple times in your run as an elder god. So that's kind of what I was wondering. Is he obviously his condition right now is completely different than some of the other elder gods, but I was curious if that's like the pantheon he's a part of.
Yeah, how that fits in to what's going on in Immortal. Well, Al and I talk usually at least once a week. So like we keep an eye on what's going on in Scarlet Witch, and we'll see what goes on in Immortal Thor. But yes, I think that's an easy assumption to make. The Elder God stuff has been built out by Al, and we're trying to be right in line with that.
It's so funny you went on the power scaling rant, because last week I released a rant video on people taking that shit too serious. So that was actually, I know you didn't do it on purpose, but that was very well timed. By the way, you tell Al Ewing whenever he wants to stop by and talk about his current run, I'm all for it. I'm trying to get writers on the channel so hard because of y'all's schedule, which I completely understand. But yeah, if he ever had time, you let him know. All for. I've been covering that run thoroughly